All right, good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here. How was the keynote? Awesome. All right, good. Well, welcome. We are the University of Nebraska Extension. We are early childhood educators, and we are located across the state. So before we get started, welcome on Zoom as well, all of those participants. And if you are on Zoom, there is a little red sticky note up on our PowerPoint that says some items that you probably have around your house. If you could gather those up real quick, that would be great. Everyone here in the room has them on their table. So as we get started, I just want to introduce Sarah Roberts. She is expert in science and insects and everything STEM. So she is our STEM person. And she is from Concord. That's where she is located. Jackie Steffen. She is everything literacy. All right. She loves children's books, which most of you probably do as well. And she is located in Hartington. My name is Lisa Pupp. I'm located in Fremont. I do a lot of social and emotional well-being with children, and we are part of the early childhood team through Extension. See if I can get this to work. All right. So our mission is to engage with Nebraskans wherever they are, connecting them with the resources, research, and innovation of the University of Nebraska. And so as you can see, our team is scattered throughout the entire state. So if you find your county, you can kind of see where one of the early childhood educators or who yours is. This map is also located on our website, child.unl.edu, so that you can connect with whoever is in your community. So today, we are going to highlight a resource that we have developed called Discover and Design. And Discover and Design is really meant for children and adults that they can come together and partner on different topics. And so this is a little fact sheet just to kind of show you how we've started. It's on a webpage called fitandhealthykids.unl.edu. And you can see by some testimonials where this has been very popular. And you can see the map, all those red areas or counties are actually counties that have actually gone ahead and used this resource, downloaded the guides, which are free, by the way. So that's always important to know. And how were these used? A lot of them are used within 4-H Clover Kid programs, YMCAs, after school programs, obviously. Counselors are using them, FCS teachers are using them, home visitors, camps, all kinds of ways that they are being used. 72% of Nebraskans, those counties have been using them. And you can see within our 6-month evaluation that we had about 254 users download over 1,300 of the lessons. They downloaded them from 17 states other than Nebraska and 3 countries. And we've reached about 7,000 children with them. So we are very excited to share them with you today. And so I'm going to let Sarah go ahead and take over, and she is going to talk to you about one of the handouts that we have or lessons. And at the end of our session, we're going to show you exactly where to go to get all of these and how to get the free downloads.
Okay, so thanks for coming out today. So like Lisa said, I like to do science and nature things. So typically the things that I do revolve around animals. I used to work at the zoo and I kind of come from an informal education background. So that's where all of that, I'm not going to say expertise because I can always learn more, but that's where that interest and passion comes from. So the first one we're going to talk about is called roly-poly roundup. Does anybody know what a roly-poly is? Okay, do you call it a roly-poly or do you call it something else? Okay, so there's lots of names for them, roly-polies, pill bugs. I'm from the South, so we used to call them doodle bugs. I've heard of lots of different things, but they're actually isopods. Does anyone know what an isopod is? Excellent. Okay, so isopods are actually in the arthropod family, so they're related to spiders, other insects, but they are not an insect. And so a lot of times kids and adults think that roly-polies are insects, but they are isopods, and so they're actually a crustacean. Do you know what a crustacean is? All right, so it is a crab, a lobster, those things that we typically think of that live in the ocean, but these actually live on land, which is really cool. So this one kind of has children observing roly-polies. You can find them under rocks, under logs, and because they are a crustacean, that means that they have gills. And so they do not breathe like we do with lungs and air, so they actually have to live in a moist environment. So that's why you find them typically around underneath something that kind of holds moisture. They cannot live in water, but they just have to kind of have that moist environment. So, in this lesson, basically what children are going to do is they're going to try to find the isopod first. So, if we want to click to the next one, or I could actually kind of talk about this a little bit. So, for this one, the materials, they would just need some sort of notebook or paper for observation. When you're working with, depending on your age level that you're working with, you might have kids that are just kind of drawing random pictures. You might have children that are kind of writing and they can write words when they're describing these creatures. So you also want to have some pencils or crayons. You might want to have a magnifying glass or a jar or a small critter carrier. So this right here is called a critter carrier. So you can have these, or I've actually got what you use for a Jello shot. Basically, you can get those little containers and poke holes in the lids. Portion cups. Okay. So that's what's in the picture right here. And so basically, you can have something like that that they can hold in their hands, and then you can have yourself a little makeshift habitat that you can take with you on your observation. So all of the lessons here kind of have your objectives. They have an introduction. In this case, it kind of talks a little bit about roly-polies and what they look like, what they do. So that way, if you're not familiar with them, you have a little bit of background information. And then there's a glossary that gives you a couple of vocabulary words, if you want to call it that. So in this case, like I said, there's crustacean on there. There's a decomposer because that is what isopods or roly-polies do. They kind of help decompose dead plants, any kind of decaying item that's in the ground or on the ground. They kind of will gravitate towards that. And then, of course, they do have an exoskeleton. So that's the outer shell of an arthropod, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then isopod and scavenger. Along with each lesson, there's also a book that goes with it. And so the book that we chose for this is called Next Time You See a Pill Bug. Does anybody have this book? It's really, really cool. So you can actually get this on NSTA, which is the National Science Teachers Association. They changed the wording a little bit. There's also other ones like Next Time You See a Spider. So there's other books that are similar to this. But this one is really good, and it talks a lot about pill bugs and isopods and kind of gives you a really good background and lots of real pictures. So I like when you're doing kind of science STEM sort of things, there's lots of real pictures that you can show kids. So it's not super cartoony or anything like that, and it gives them a close-up look as to what they look like. So when they go out, they can definitely see what they're looking for. I would say most kids, especially the ones that I've worked with recently, they know what these are. They've seen them. They may not know what they're called, but they're familiar with what these creatures are. So if we go to the next one. All right, so these are just some pictures that I'll show you. So the one on the left, that is actually called a dairy cow isopod, and I actually have some of those with me today that I'll show you. Do you want to walk around with them? She doesn't have to touch them. So they're under here probably. Yeah. All right, so these are pretty cool. They actually can get like an inch or two long. So these are one of the largest species of isopod. I don't think these specific ones are located in the United States. So the ones that we find here are little black or gray ones. And basically so there's two kind of types of isopods. There's what do we call like pill bugs, and then we have sow bugs. And so the ones that are here, these are technically sow bugs because they don't roll up into a ball. So I'm going to teach you a new word today too that I actually just learned the other day, and I was trying to teach it to my son, but it's kind of a long word. So it's conglobate. Can you say that word? Conglobate. Conglobates. Okay, so that actually means when a roly-poly rolls up into a ball, that's what it's called, is they are conglobating. So there's your word for the day. Um, so you can also kind of see, I mean, I could go into like all these weird random facts about these, but on the back end of this isopod over here, you kind of see two little spiky things sticking out like a tail sort of, and that's how you can tell the difference between a roly-poly that will roll up into a ball and a sow bug that will not. Anyway, so these are just some other pictures to show you kind of how the lesson can go. So like I said, you can go outside, you can turn over a log or sticks. A lot of times they'll be under leaves, especially, today it's nice and rainy. So after this weekend, when we get a good rain, you'll probably be able to find a lot that have kind of come up. So that's a really cool opportunity for you next week to do some of this. And these creatures are harmless. They don't bite you. They don't carry disease or anything like that. So kids can pick them up. They can hold them. They're pretty hardy, so they're not going to necessarily squish them unless they just like stomp on it. But if they hold it in their hand, generally it's okay. They're not going to hurt them. So that's the other nice thing about these particular animals. So then if you're looking on the back of your lesson here, so this is the roly-poly roundup. So on the back it has some pictures so that, again, you can kind of see what they look like in case you're unfamiliar with them. And then it just has them sort of look at their body structure. And so this one actually complements the next lesson really well, the insects among us, because like I said, isopods are not insects. So you can kind of talk about the difference between insects and isopods. And you can go into all kinds of detail if you want. With live animals, kids are generally, very interested in that because they're moving and they kind of interest them a lot. So these are really good ones to use, especially this time of year that it's fall. There's a lot of bugs out still. It's still kind of warm out. So you can still do this. So then we can kind of move on to the next one. But I want you to see on step 3 here, it says count the number of legs and body segments. How many legs are there? So with pill bugs and sow bugs, generally they have 7 sets of legs. So how many legs total would that be? 14. Good job. Okay. You guys awake today? No? Okay. So there's 14 legs. How many legs do insects have? 6. Very good. All right, we'll get there. Okay, so that's our roly-poly roundup. So then moving on to the insects among us, this one is again, like I said, very good to complement the roly-poly one because then it goes into detail about insects. And this one actually has them, they can collect insects if they want to. You can use that same little, what is it, portion cup, or you can get your critter carrier like what Jackie's carrying around, and you can collect insects. You can make a little habitat. The roly-polies can live for like 2 years, so I mean they can last a while, and they breed very quickly. So like I started out with 15 in there, and I bet you there's hundreds at this point. So if I were to like dump out the dirt, there's all kinds of them in there. So super cool. I did this activity with a homeschool group that I have, and so I gave them the little portion cup, and they all got to take one roly-poly or one isopod home with them. Probably half of the kids, so I had 14 kids, so almost half of the kids, their isopod had babies. So then it just like kept multiplying, and so it's super fun because they all go to my church, and so they're like, guess what? My isopod had a baby, and there's like 100 of them in there, and so it's really fun. So they multiply very quickly and very easily, and then they live kind of a longish time. So you can enjoy their antics for a while. All right. So with the insects among us, this is kind of a similar structure. So basically, again, there's an introduction here. So that talks a little bit about insects, what their parts are. So we already talked about they have 6 legs. How many body parts do they have? 3. Yep. Okay. So they have 3. So they have a head. What's the middle part? A thorax and an abdomen. Very good. There's a song I could teach you all that that tells you all about the parts. So in the introduction, it talks a little bit about that. It talks about metamorphosis, and so those again will be some of the glossary terms. And then the book for this one is called Bugs Everywhere. And I really like this book because it's a drawing, so it's not technically real pictures, but it has all kinds of different insects as well as arachnids in here, which are like spiders, ticks, scorpions, those types of things. I didn't bring any of those for you guys today. Darn it. I have some I could have brought for you. So then it kind of goes through some habitats where different types of bugs and insects live. So there's a lot of variety in this book here. So that's why I like this one for this particular lesson. So then if we go onto the back, this one gives them another, or I didn't put the back up here, but this one gives them another opportunity to do a lot of observing. So as we talk through, science and STEM, one of the main things that kids learn to do, especially at a young age, is to observe. They start to ask questions. They start to be curious about things. So that's why a lot of the ones that I do regarding science have them do some observing and talk about what they see and use their five senses to kind of start making those observations and asking those questions. So for this one, they get to kind of go out and look for insects. They get to go through, and this one is nice because you can use it in any environment. So if you're in an urban environment, you can go out to your potted plants. You can go out to a park or somewhere like that. Or if you live in a rural setting, you can go out to a field or your backyard, wherever it may be, and there's always going to be some sort of bug there. Can guarantee it. Maybe not in the middle of February when we're having a blizzard, but generally when we have nice weather, there's going to be an insect somewhere. So they can go out and try to observe, where do these insects live? Are they living in the plant? Are they living in the dirt? In the wintertime, they might be in your house. So you might be able to find something in your house because they want to stay warm as well. So then they have the opportunity to do a science notebook. So you can kind of do this a couple of different ways. So I've done several different science notebooks. So this is actually one that I used with my homeschool group. So I had them assemble it. So I kind of gave them all the different pages, printed them off, and then they assembled it. So they had a kind of cover page here, and they kind of put their name on it. Some of them decorated it, that sort of thing. And then I just put blank paper in it. And then I also made some that had lines in it so they could write something if they wanted to. It has little boxes so they can draw pictures. So there's all kinds of ways to just do something like that. The other one that's super easy to do is you can just get some computer paper, fold it in half, and staple it. So that's what I use the most, like during my camps and things in the summertime, because it's cheap and easy to do, and I have unlimited source of computer paper basically at my office. So this is what I use just for summer camp kids because I have a lot of kids coming in and out. The last one I was going to show you that you can also, I think I got it off of either Pinterest or Etsy or somewhere. You can create something like this, or you can find people that have already created it and just print it off. So it just says my science journal, and then there's pages that go along with it. Again, they can record things that they see and or draw pictures depending on their level. And so you can use something like that. So those are the three examples of science journals. So you can make them as simple or as decorative as you like. So in these pictures, the first two are from science or nature camp. And so you can see they have their little nature journal there or science journal. So they were outside observing. We have a pollinator garden. And so they were all sitting out and kind of observing different insects that were coming and visiting the flowers there. And then on the left there, we were outside doing an activity and an insect came on somebody's notebook. And so they were super excited about it because it was like, oh my gosh, a real one. I don't know what kind of insect it was. I think it was some sort of ant. But anyway, so we were very excited about that. And then this one on the right, this is my son actually, and he was observing ants that were crawling along the sidewalk, and there was an ant bed and, all the things. So, the activity that kind of goes with this is there's an option to make a poster or a collage. And if any of you are involved in county fair, this is something that a lot of Clover kids can do. They can make their own posters and submit that in. So I have a couple of examples of that. So I just did it on the computer. So you can do something like this where you just get a bunch of pictures and put it in a collage. Or, you can actually take real pictures and have them put it together on a poster. So that would probably be more of what they would do for county fair or for a display. But these are also options that you can use with that. So I do have some beetles that I can show you. And these are really cool because they're called blue death feigning beetles. And they are desert animals, so you won't find them here in Nebraska. But they're called blue death feigning beetles because they like to play dead. So he's not really dead. He's just pretending to be dead. So they will stay like that for a couple hours, depending on how threatened they feel. And here in just a minute, I'll kind of walk around with it. I don't think Jackie wants to hold it. So these are called blue death feigning beetles, and they make really good like classroom pets because they're pretty hardy. I had a kid drop one last weekend, and they kind of freaked out. I was like, oh, it's fine. Just pick it up. Whatever. Just don't stomp on it. But so they make pretty good pets. The other two things I was going to show you are different types of microscopes that you can use with kids. So this one right here is just a handheld one that you can plug into a computer. This one's actually kind of old, so there's newer versions that you can plug into your phone. If you have a laptop or a tablet or something that you can plug into that, and basically you would just plug it into your device. This is the microscope part, and it has a light in here, and you just shine it on whatever you're doing. What do you think kids are going to use it first with? Yep, they're gonna go, oh, let me see your mouth. Okay, so they're gonna do all that, which is also okay because there's all kinds of cool things in your mouth. Um, so then you can like focus with it. This one actually is cool because you can take pictures with it and then save those pictures. So that's an option to have. And these are like $20 on Amazon. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to check that out. Then the other one I actually got at the NSTA conference whenever we went a couple years ago, and this is called Fold Scope, and it is like a portable little microscope, and it's made out of paper. So this is what it looks like. And you can actually, you can just use it like this and kind of do different things like that. Or you can hook it up to your phone. So there's a little magnet here, and it comes with like a little coupler that you put on your phone camera part, and it'll just hook up to that. And then it also comes with a little light right here that it can hook up to, like that. And so there's different ways that you can use this, but these are also super cheap, and they actually have like class sets of these online. I think an individual one is like $20, but you can get like a class set of like 20 of them for like $50. So they are very affordable and very easy to use. Some of them come assembled, or you can just assemble it yourself, and they come in these little fancy little carrying cases here. So fold scope. So I'll bring this around to you to let you look at it. And then I think I'm turning it over to the next one. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I have some. You can come up here after we're done too and look at all the things. But I was trying to speed through so that way we have enough time to talk about everything. Okay.
Whew. Thanks, Sarah. That was great. So as you can tell, she truly is all things science, right? So with that, with our Discover and Design lessons, we have about 4 new lessons that are added every quarter. So it's always, our website is always changing. And we also have a section of lessons on there that are focused on art appreciation. So I am not everything's creepy crawly, but I am things that are related to art appreciation and to literacy. And so the next couple of lessons that we're just going to talk through to give you a feel on what the Discover and Design program looks like, and maybe you're thinking about how you can incorporate it with the youth that you work with, is we're going to be discovering how we can meet famous artists and look at famous artwork. So sometimes many people like to do art, but they feel uncomfortable teaching art because they think, well, I don't have a background as an artist. Well, these lessons help prepare you so you can help children look critically and just observe, what do you see in these pictures, and have those conversations, and to help to build their vocabulary words as they're learning about famous works of art and famous artists. So one of our lessons on our website, they're able to meet Emma Lindstrom. And what she is she is a Swedish, actually, contemporary artist. And the nice thing is, on the Discover and Design handouts, it gives you a little background information so that you're able to find out who is Emma. And what she is famous for is she is famous for fluid painting. And so fluid painting, another word for that is pour painting. How many of you are familiar with pour painting or have seen that online, maybe had the opportunity to do it? All right, so it is definitely a hit with kids. It's a hit with adults to do pour painting. So that's what this is about, and it's a chance to talk with children about abstract works of art. And the thing that I have to let you know is that when you do pour painting with young children, you can't mess up. Like, they all turn out absolutely beautiful. And so it's really fun, and it shows you the different materials that you'll need. So you'll need some sort of a canvas. A lot of times, if I'm doing it with a large group, I'm going to use a canvas that they're about 5 by 5 inches, a little bit smaller canvases, just because they're more cost effective. You need acrylic paint. You need some sort of pouring medium. So you could go to like your True Value, Menards, local hardware store, and get what's called Floetrol, which is pretty inexpensive, and you're going to mix that with your acrylic paint. And then you also put in some acrylic oil, or you can go to like a Walmart and get WD-40. It does the exact same thing. That helps to create cells within your artwork that you're doing. So if we look at the next slide here, this was just some pictures from a classroom that we were doing pour painting in, and I just wanted to talk through the process. So a lot of times people are afraid of a lot of paint and making a mess. The best thing to use when you are doing this is to make sure that you have the area covered. But if you go to your local grocery store and just get their soup, their soup flats or those boxes, it works really good. And then we had everything they needed inside. So we had the cups that they needed. We gave them their popsicle sticks. We gave them their gloves that they were going to wear. We had them write their name on the outside of the box because it does take about 24 hours for them to dry. So that's what we did. And I think it's just making sure you have a process for when you're doing pour paint with young children, because we've never had a spill. And I have done this over and over and over with kids. The other thing, so when we're doing it, I let children select 3 different colors of paint, and then we put in their Floetrol and they stir it together, and then they layer in 1 cup that's larger those 3 types of paint. All right, so they're pouring them in. They're not mixing them together, they're just pouring them in. Then what we have them do is inside their box, we do the wow factor together. So we have the cup with the paint here, we put the canvas on top of it, and then we're able to flip it over. And we do it one at a time. And I think the oohs and the ahs are what's the most fun about doing this activity. Now, I think if I let all 15 kids do it on their own, I would have had a lot of spills and paint on the carpet. But it's just so neat to see how kids who maybe choose the exact same colors of paint, how they still turn out so different. The book that goes along with this particular lesson is one of my favorite ones, and it's called I Ain't Gonna Paint No More. So this is definitely one you can find in the library, on Amazon, on Scholastic. But it's about a little boy who he's painted all over the ceiling, the walls, and the floor, and his mama says that you ain't gonna paint no more. And so it's sing-song, and every time he's painting a different part of his body, and the children are able to figure out the rhyme and kind of the pattern in the book and be able to guess what part. And at the end, you think that he's going to paint his butt, but it's like, what? Y'all don't think, because there ain't no paint, so I ain't gonna paint no more. So I love to introduce this particular lesson with this book, because we talk about how we're going to keep things clean. We are not going to have paint on the ceiling, the walls, and the floor. So this is just a fun activity, and it ties in with art appreciation. So we talked about abstract art. We talked about Emma Lindstrom, and they were able to have their own experience as well. So if we go on to another one that you have on your table, this is Louise Nevelson. And she is one of my favorite artists as well. And so in your handout, again, it gives you that information about who is Louise Nevelson. And she is known for creating big, beautiful sculptures. And these sculptures are always monochromatic. Does anyone know what monochromatic means? One color, yeah. So she's in front of her sculpture that's called Sky Cathedral. So when she was young, I believe her father, was he a carpenter or worked in a lumber shop? But she liked to go to work with him and pick up all the different treasures. And so she would collect these scraps of wood, and then she'd put them all together into her sculptures or her assemblage, and then she would paint them all one color. And so with this, the book that goes with it is The Most Magnificent Thing. So this is by Ashley Spires. Is anyone familiar with this book? All right. So then in this book, there's a little girl that wants to make something marvelous, but everything that she makes doesn't quite meet her expectations. And she's getting frustrated, and then she ends up pinching her thumb at the end of the story or towards the middle of the story, and walks away. And as she takes a break and is able to collect herself, she starts walking by all these things that weren't marvelous to her. And then she starts to see that, hey, but I like this part of this one. I like this part of that one and this one. And she makes something new that is the most magnificent thing. So this really can tie in well with sculpture. So if we go to the next slide, here's some different ways that we can use this author and explore. So on the back of this one, it actually shows how you can make an assemblage. Just again, I think maybe I like grocery store boxes like this, the little flats. So right inside of a flat. So you encourage children to find different interesting things around their house, in their junk drawer, in the garage, in your classroom, outside, and then you ask them to glue them inside the box. So you're looking for things with neat textures. And then when I did it as a classroom, we voted. Since it's monochromatic, we had to vote on what color we wanted our sculptures to be. And so once we would agree on the color of the sculpture, then we went outside and we spray painted them. So my one that I have completed, well, that you see up there, it kind of got knocked over. So one piece fell over or fell off, or maybe more than that. And it just is beautiful, honestly, once you spray paint it. So the coolest thing is, and I don't have a picture up here, is then you take everybody's boxes, and it's fun to hot glue those boxes together and to make one giant sculpture that you can have to display in whatever setting that you are in. So if this is something that you think, oh, this is a little bit too much work, another idea to still build upon Louise Nevelson is in my classroom, we did haunted houses. So I had scrap lumber, and what they did is they picked out their favorite pieces, and they were putting the lumber together, so gluing it, and we had families that came in and helped with it. They painted it black so we could talk about the monochromatic, but then to be festive, we let them decorate it and add other designs to make it look like a haunted house. What we're going to do for a version that's a little less messy is you can also make a sculpture and assemblage just out of construction paper. So where you're asking them to pick their favorite color of paper, and then you're teaching them different 3D art techniques. So you're teaching them about tabs. You're teaching them how to roll paper. You're teaching them how to do accordion folds. You're teaching them about curls and fringe and all the different things that can go as 3D paper. And then they can be creative, and they're making their own sculpture. And so we want to let you in this room and those that are online have some time to be creative. And so in the middle of your table, you can see that there is some black construction paper. We picked the color for you already. So go ahead and select a base. And then you can see that we have some glue sticks and some scissors. And we just encourage you to make your own assemblage like Louise Nevelson. All right, so online and for everybody in the room, there was a question about how do you get these handouts that we have printed out for those of you in the room. In just a little bit, we're going to be going out to the website and we're going to show you how you can download all of these for free so that you can print them and have them. So those of you working online and also everyone here in the room are going to give you about 3 more minutes, even though I know you could use a lot more time, but at least this gives you an idea. So about 3 minutes. All right. I love the creativity that I'm seeing as I walk around. And said I see rolling and twisting, and I see pleats and all sorts of cool things. And I think what I love the most is even just the conversation and the fun and the smiles that I see happening here in the room. And I think we as adults have fun doing this. Just imagine doing this with young children, whether it's very young or even older children would like it as well. So even though you may not be done, you can choose to continue working on it if you would like, if you can work and listen at the same time, because now Lisa is going to take us out to our website a little bit more and show you the details on where to find these resources.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce LaDonna Werth. She is our extension educator in early childhood up in O'Neill. So, like I said, we're all over the state. So she came a ways to get here. So she's going to go ahead and take you out to the website so you can see where to get these resources and maybe a few more as I was walking around the room, I think we have some more that will be helpful for you as well. So the address is fitandhealthykids.unl.edu.
This website was put together a few years ago, and it incorporates several states. It's not just University of Nebraska Extension, but it incorporates about 10 different states, and we're gathering states as we go. And we put in different information. So on the first page, when you put in Fit and Healthy Kids, you will see this location with the little girl. And at the top, it will say virtual classes. So if you are needing some free online classes or on-demand classes, there are some that cost and some of that are free. And they're all virtual. Just remember that. They're virtual. You can receive a certificate. So we do have 24 on-demand classes. We have one hour once a month classes. They're starting here in October, the first Monday of every month at 7 o'clock. We also have a virtual conference. What's really fun, it's one Saturday morning for 4 hours, very hands-on like what you're doing right now. And then we also do homework, so you can get credit for your homework and actually taking what you learned to the children that you work with. And then about a month later, we have an in-depth class of 2 hours. Then we also have some in-depth learning circles where we have meet maybe 3 times online, and we have homework, and you get credit for all that. The next area is free marketing tools. And the free marketing tools is to help you with advertising early childhood within your communities. So each one of these circles has different information. Too Little, Too Much really focuses on early childhood infants. Block Play is an excellent right one for you with after school, but it has the JPEG. It has the information in English and Spanish. Some of them have handouts. Some of them have other locations to go to, but all we ask is that you leave the logos on. You can download the JPEGs. There's scripts to put with the text, and you can market that out. You can add to it, but we just ask you to leave what we have, but add to it however you feel comfortable. Then the next one is Materials for You. And Materials for You is where you're going to find the Discover and Design. These are each little circle. You can go out to whatever state hosts that information or whatever website. So you come down to Discover and Design, and you scroll down, and it has a sample page of what you see on your tables. But here you can go in and you can find each one of the areas. So assemblage, dream catchers, you click to download that information. And you put in some basic information, because in about 2 months, we'll just email you back and say, hey, how did it go? Can you tell us any information? It doesn't cost. We just love to hear information back so we can design new classes for you, new handouts. So once you fill that information in, it will go to a folder, and it has all of the Discover and Design handouts. So you can do this once, and then look at all the Discover and Design and download as many as you would like. All we ask you to do is, if you refer this information to someone else, please just have them come to the page and fill that information out. And then they can go in and gather all that information. What's nice about this is, as Jackie was stating, about once a month we put a new lesson up. And we've found that a variety of agencies use this information and they adapt it to their facilities. And that's what these are designed for. If you have suggestions for new ideas and have something designed, we would love to hear about that. And we'd love to put you as one of the authors on the Discover and Design page that you designed. So we're open to ideas. You guys are in the trenches. You know what the kids like. And you've done things and it's like, this is successful and I want to share it. And we want to help you share it. So that's the location for the Discover and Design. It's under Fit and Healthy Kids, Materials for You, and then it will have a variety of different materials for you. There's also other resources on there. If you'd like to do some Native American resources, there's one from South Dakota. We have to keep going a little bit farther, right there. Growing an Active Reader has some wonderful Native American resources with a book, and also they have some food and nutrition information also on there so the kids can make and design. Okay, and then there's also, whoops, I'm gonna go back to Learning in the Heartland is a great resource. Them are virtual tours like a fire station, a doctor's office, a vet office, and they're all free. They're all free. And there's handouts, there are songs, all that material. You can go in, download that for free. And then we have the STEM Imagination Guides under Materials for You. STEM Reading Connection. This is incredible. This is another one that incorporates books and STEM activities. And it's designed for 2 different age groups, all on one handout. So this is another one. You can download the guide free. Just put your information in. We just want to hear back in a couple months of how things are going. Yes, the archives have past year's lessons. These are incorporated with the libraries also, so if you work with the library, they may choose to do some of these during the summer also. Mhm. So it's multi-age activities designed. So they've taken the same theme, they've taken from young to all the way up to 8 years of age. So several of you with after school, great resource. Anything else, Jackie, you want to? And they received a national award last week on this. Yay! So that was materials for you. We go over to family engagement. And these are just activities for family engagement. A beautiful day is little video clips. Here's Discover and Design. You can do that also with families if you'd like. There's the backpack series that focuses on different behavioral issues. It's one page that you can send home with families. Just in Time Parenting is a resource for parents of younger age that they can sign up for, and then there's information that's sent back to them in relevance of what age that child is at that time and the ages and stages they're going through. Michigan also has some wonderful parenting classes. They're just Zoom classes. You jump on, they talk about different topics. So if you have parents that would like to do some parenting classes, just for fun, it's not mandated or anything, but they want to learn more. My child's going through this. I want to know more about this. Michigan has some great resources on that. Suddenly in Charge is a program that was designed for Kansas and is used nationally, but it's for them tweens that now are in charge of the younger kids. So if you're looking at tweens in your facility and you want to do a lesson with them of taking care of their siblings, great resource. There's also the Science of Parenting. This is a podcast for parents. Some parents love to listen to podcasts and hear different things, but it's funny and it's fun. And there's great resources and information research based on that. Okay, I think we've covered the Fit and Healthy Kids webpage. We have a variety of information for you, and use it. The majority of it's free, and it's there for your use. The last thing we'd love you to do is we have a QR code that if you take your phones out and just do the QR code, it's a simple little evaluation to help us build on this program and also on the Discover and Design. But we appreciate your time and thank you for coming. And if you have any questions about Nebraska Extension and where we're going, or you would like to see some new things, let us know. And there's so much out there. This is just a tip of the iceberg of what Extension has to offer through the state of Nebraska and also through the United States. So thank you, everyone.
Anybody have any questions for any of us? They're all busy doing their evaluation. This is awesome.
If you want to see any of the books or anything, we have some stuff on this table, so you're welcome to come up and take a look at that. If you want to see the microscopes up close, you can come up here and see those as well.
some fun art resources for art appreciation books up here too that give excellent ideas for lessons.
And Sarah would love to help you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you sharing the word about the Discover and Design lessons and guides and everything else that you've seen in the resources. We hope that you are able to use all of this, or at least some of it, in your programs. So we appreciate that. Thank you.